The following is an Operation Podcast production.
How often is the thyroid the overlooked culprit when we're looking at, the things that help move us forward in life? More energy, fat loss, better sleep. I feel like thyroid is something that people kind of get to last, if at all, right?
I know. And that's the crazy thing, Chase, is the thyroid is the master gland. So it's dictating to our body how well we burn fat, how well our brains function, whether or not we have motivation and energy to get through the day. So the big question in my mind is, why aren't we focusing on the thyroid more? Why isn't that the first thing that we look at, no matter who you are, male or female? Why aren't we focusing on that master gland that, what I always say is, from head to toe, it runs the show. From head to toe, it runs our entire body. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, to bring more awareness to people, because it's something that can drive more business. It can drive more money. I always joke, I'm like, you fix your thyroid, you're going to make more money. You fix your thyroid, you're going to have better relationships, because you are. We can certainly talk about that, but it literally runs every aspect of your life.
Okay, so then walk us through it. If it is that important, explain it to me, explain it to my audience like we're an eighth grader, but an eighth grader with lavish dreams. We want to be the highest performing eighth grader come graduation day possible. So break it down for us and, for lack of a better term, sell us on why it is so important and what it does for us and how we can leverage this information to our benefit.
Okay, perfect. So let's just walk through a normal day, right? We get up and we want to wake up and have energy. We want to get through our to-do list on that day. So maybe it's going to school and using your brain. Maybe it's going to work. Maybe it's running a business. Maybe it's running a family, making major decisions. So number one, you have to have energy. You have to have brain function. That's dictated by the thyroid. Now, there are other aspects of it. Like, people will say, well, what about blood sugar? What about cortisol? What about your hormones? Yep, all important, all run by the thyroid. So this little gland that's in your neck, it's like, shapes like a little butterfly. It releases hormones that go to the cells. And remember, back in 8th grade, we learned about the cell and that powerhouse of the cell called the mitochondria inside the cell, right? And that mitochondria produces something called ATP, which gives us energy and fuels our body to run every single day. So your thyroid produces these little hormones that go out and they speak to your cells. They basically tell your cell, hey, today I need you to produce enough energy to get this guy all the way through the day, because he's got a busy schedule. He's got to work out in the morning. He's got to run a business. He's got a few meetings. He's got a podcast interview.
He's a very progressive eighth grader.
Right. Well, yeah, I know. Remember, 8th grader with big dreams, though. Big dreams. We need all those hormones to get to where they need to go. And by the way, the 8th grader also doesn't want to be fat. So we also need to give this 8th grader, this body, a metabolism, so that every time they eat, they're not just taking that food and storing it as fat. They can actually use it as energy and use it as fuel to fuel their entire body. Oh, and by the way, this person also kind of wants to poop every day, because, that's important. And we learned, like, in 4th grade, that everybody poops, and it's really important that you do it once, if not twice a day. Again, dictated by the thyroid. You're constipated, you better look at your thyroid. Instead of down in a bottle of mag citrate, let's see how well your thyroid's working. So that little gland sends out these hormones, and we can get into the specifics of the hormones if you like, but sends out these hormones to give a signaling message to your cells to do whatever it is it's supposed to do. Energy, bowel motility, burning fat, whatever, lighting up your brain, controlling your mood, your heart rate, your body temperature. It's all dictated by these little hormones that are sent out by your thyroid gland.
I do want to get into some of the nuances here, the specifics of these hormones, and kind of shifting into measuring it so we know how to properly manage it. Mm-hmm. I would say, and don't know if I shared this with you, but I'm a former clinical health coach, and so I used to work side by side with doctors for years, working with patients to get them well, keep them well, and thyroid panel was one of the things that we would promote a lot of. That was very new to a lot of our patients. It was concierge medicine, so it was maybe it was a little step above your general practitioner. But I always thought that thyroid was something. Getting these labs was something we should always start with, because I think it can be a hidden driving force or brake pedal for a lot of the things that you just described. But with that, can you kind of walk us through, are we getting thyroid labs on a regular basis? Do you think the general public even knows about this? Is it something that general practitioners are offering? 2, how do we go about getting it from a provider? Or if we do get them from a third party, what do we do with this information?
Right. And that's the big question, is what do you do with the information once you have it? So let's start at the beginning. Thyroid labs. No, if you go into your doctor and you say, hey, doc, I heard this woman on a podcast and I want to get a full thyroid panel. Your doctor is going to run 2 labs, maybe. He's going to run TSH, which is thyroid stimulating hormone. That's released by your brain. That is not one of the little hormones that we talked about.
Not the thyroid.
Not the thyroid, no. So we're not even on to the thyroid yet. We're still in the brain. So this is your brain sensing, is there enough thyroid hormone in the body? And if it's not liking what it's seeing, it's going to start yelling at the thyroid. So TSH is one of the only markers where high means low. The higher it goes, the lower your thyroid is actually functioning, because it's sensing like, something's not right in the system here. So it starts to scream at the thyroid. Now, if TSH is elevated, then we go, okay, there's obviously a problem here. But what if it's not? That doesn't tell us the whole story, because it's a brain hormone. So we have to drop down. Now, your doctor will also order something called a free T4. Now, T4 is actually the inactive thyroid hormone. Nowhere in your body do you have a receptor site for T4. So T4 has to morph and go through this transformation process where it converts and becomes T3. So the actual test that you need to ask your doctor for, free T3, the unbound active thyroid hormone that's going to give you metabolism, light up your brain. Then reverse T3, which we can certainly go deeper on. Reverse T3 is the anti-thyroid hormone. That's what blocks everything. It's going to block T3 from getting to that receptor site on the cell. And then we want to check TPO and TGA antibodies, so thyroid peroxidase and thyroglobulin antibodies, because I want to know if you have Hashimoto's. I want to know if you have the autoimmune form of hypothyroidism. You absolutely have to go in with that list of labs to your doctor. You have to list them out, because if you don't, you are not going to get those run. Now, to your point, can you order these by? Yes, absolutely. There's so many options now. There's Ulta Labs and any lab test now. But the problem is when you get those back, then like what do you do with them? So in the book, that's where I'm actually walking readers through, okay, you have these labs now. Now let's interpret these together. Because chances are your doctor is going to look at those labs, and he or she's going to look at that standard lab value range that's right next to your value. And if that is within normal limits, you are going to be told you're normal. You're normal, Chase. Everything is fine. Nothing to see here. Meanwhile, we're looking at it, and I'm sure you did as well, through that functional lens. We're looking at it through an optimal lens. We want you to be a badass. We want you to be optimal, not just normal, average, like the rest of the population, like sick people. We want you feeling and looking and performing your best. So now we have to look at those lab results through kind of a different microscope, through that optimal lens.
Yeah, and actually, I want to go there next, because I didn't even know this until probably a couple of years ago when I was getting semi-regular, very regular labs. I was getting them, quarterly. I was kind of really in that fine-tuning optimization era of my life. And I didn't know that when you go to LabCorp, Quest, whatever your local lab is, that the results you get back are low, normal, average, above average, however they interpret it, based on that like general vicinity. And you could go to the same lab, same fasting window, and potentially get different results based on those categories, because normal is just an average of that area. And so we don't want to be normal.
Right.
So taking that out of the equation, walk us through getting these labs and going, okay, my doctor's just going to say you're normal, but I don't want to be normal. What should I be looking for? What can I strive for? What's realistic to get into that optimal range? And why does it really matter?
So I always say normal is a setting on the dryer. So you never want your doctor or anybody to describe you or your labs as just normal. How do we get to optimal? That is really where that nuanced art of thyroid optimization comes in. Sometimes we do have to bring in thyroid hormone replacement. Now, in this day and age, we have so much more emphasis and attention on hormones. Menopause is getting more of a spotlight. Thank goodness. Women's health needs that. Even guys are getting more of a spotlight. I mean, you're seeing these commercials on TV for testosterone.
Oh, yeah.
And low testosterone. Yeah. There's like a Manzilla clinic on every corner.
Hims and Hers, they have the biggest ad budget I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
They're everywhere. Yeah.
It's crazy, but at least we're shifting to recognize the importance of these hormones in our body. Thyroid hormone is no different. We still need to look at that and say, okay, if this hormone is low, we might actually have to bring in hormone replacement therapy, i.e., yes, it's medication, but hormone replacement therapy to replace those hormones that your thyroid is no longer properly making. Now, that might be because you have Hashimoto's and your thyroid's been destroyed for years. Who knows the reason why? But if your body's not making those hormones anymore and you want to feel your best and you want to be optimal, then we might have to bring those in. Now that breaks it down. That brings up another question that I get all the time. Can I heal my thyroid naturally? So let's say,
I was going to ask. Yeah,
right?
Do we have to jump straight to replacement, or can we do anything?
It just depends. So if we're catching someone in the very, very early stages where, let's say, they've only gained 5 pounds, if you ask them what their symptoms are, they'll be like, well, I'm a little bit tired, but it's not horrible. I don't sleep well a couple nights a week, but it's not that bad. If they're not describing massive symptoms and you're seeing those numbers just start to change a little bit on the labs, at that point in time, we can do things naturally. Things like going gluten-free, adding in something called L-tyrosine, which is an amino acid that just helps your thyroid gland actually produce more T4 and T3, bringing in the supportive nutrients like selenium, magnesium, iodine, vitamin D, all of that helps the thyroid work better and helps your body convert that inactive thyroid hormone to the active thyroid hormone. Black cumin seed oil will actually push Hashimoto's into remission. So there are things that we can do naturally, but if someone is like the women that we see, the men and women that we see in our clinic, where they've already been to 5 different doctors, they've already been told that they're normal 10 different times, they've already done the adrenal protocols and the gut healing protocols, and they have 20,000 supplements in their pantry, and they're like, listen, I put on this 20 pounds, nothing I am doing is getting it off. I fast, I do keto, I do carnivore, I did all the things. I'm working out a couple times a day. Nothing's working. I'm dead tired. I'm sick of losing my hair. I'm done. When they're at that point, it's like, let's just bring in the hormones. Let's just give them back their quality of life.
Okay. Because
there's nothing wrong with replacing your own hormones that are identical to what your body made.
I want to go back to the gluten-free thing. Why gluten-free? I've heard that a few times as one of the first go-tos for natural ways to increase or boost thyroid health. What is going on with gluten in the thyroid? Why?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that, because gluten-free is not a fad. I like saying that because, right now, everybody rolls their eyes when you say gluten-free. Like, oh yeah, here we go, another gluten-free.
And it doesn't have to be like because you have celiac disease, right?
Right. There actually is science to it, especially when it comes to the thyroid. So when we look at, let me back up. Let's back up and explain Hashimoto's, because that helps with the gluten conversation. If you have Hashimoto's, meaning you have some number next to that thyroid peroxidase marker and the thyroglobulin marker, either or. could have a number next to it. I don't care if it's 10, 100, 1,000. If you have any number, that means you have soldiers. You have antibodies, i.e. soldiers, that like to go out and beat up your thyroid. So that's how I explain it. I love analogies.
Yeah.
That helps us understand. Back to 8th grade, right?
Yeah, I was going to say, keep it simple for the 8th grader over here.
Keep it simple. So you got these little soldiers, and they're confused. They were programmed wrong. They think that your thyroid is a bad guy. And so they like to go out and attack it. So if we think about other autoimmune conditions, rheumatoid arthritis, those soldiers think that your joints are a bad guy. Celiac, like you mentioned, those soldiers think that the villi in your small intestine are bad guys. So they go out and attack. Okay, so for the thyroid, those soldiers going out attacking the thyroid gland. Now, with gluten, when we look at it under a microscope, there's a protein molecule that's part of gluten called gliadin. And when we look at that under a microscope, it looks remarkably similar to the thyroid gland itself. It's called molecular mimicry. And when we eat gluten, those soldiers go, oh, hey, look, there's the bad guy coming in.
No way.
Let's do what we do and let's launch an attack. So every single time a person with Hashimoto's consumes gluten, they are building their army and they are literally launching an attack on their thyroid. So when we look at the thyroid under ultrasound, years of destruction occurring, it looks different. It's smaller, it's jagged. It looks like Pac-Man just kind of started eating at the sides of it. And that's literally what's happening when you're eating gluten.
I've heard people actually have their thyroid removed. When would that be appropriate? And if it's so important, how can we go without it?
Well, the only time that a thyroid gland should be removed, now we know like docs these days, they like removing body parts left and right, but the only time a thyroid gland should be removed is if there's cancer. So if we do detect cancer, or if there are large goiters, sometimes people can have a goiter that's actually visible coming out of the side of their neck. Of course, from an aesthetic point of view, we want to remove that. But if we can save it at all, we want to save it. Now, I have a special chapter in the book for thyroidectomy patients and radioactive iodine, because that's another way to destroy the thyroid. They do either one. And all is not lost. Hope is not gone. We can replace those hormones that your thyroid gland used to make, and we can do it so that you don't even realize anything happened. You don't crash. You don't go into this deep hypo state. Like, you're good. The problem with thyroidectomies, most of the time, people are placed on something called T4, which we mentioned earlier is the inactive thyroid hormone. So now it's like, wait, we took out the gland that once produced T4 and T3. We took out the gland that helps to convert that inactive to the active. And then we just give T4. That doesn't even make sense. That person is going to struggle. They're going to feel all of those hypothyroid symptoms, the weight gain, the low mood, the low energy. They're going to feel it because they don't have the right balance of thyroid hormone in their system. But if you have had your thyroid removed, just rest assured you can absolutely get optimized and feel your best.
Okay, that's good news.
Yeah.
Besides the gluten aspect, maybe someone's hearing this and going, okay, let me try, test out going low gluten, gluten-free, and see if that, one, just makes me feel better and kind of mitigates a lot of these symptoms we've been talking about. But two, getting a pre and a post lab check, I think would be a great way to check that immediate, variable manipulation. Yep. What might be some other ways that what we're doing in our wellness journey to help with one other goal or one other area of our well-being might have a negative spillover to the thyroid?
So I'll give you doing and I'll give you eating. So doing would be over exercising.
Really?
Yeah. These are I'm talking the cardio queens, right?
Okay.
And it makes sense because, I was there. I mean, my goodness, I was doing fitness and figure competitions when I was diagnosed with my thyroid problem, but I was misdiagnosed 6 times before I figured out what it was. So in that time, I was gaining weight. You're so desperate. You're like, okay, I guess I'll do 2 or 3 sessions of cardio today just to get this damn weight off. And out of desperation, people will do that. They will over exercise because like nothing else is working. What's
Especially
happening to my
competitors,
body?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that alone, that can have a negative impact on the thyroid because we know that over exercising, pushing yourself too far is going to increase cortisol, the stress hormone. It's going to increase blood glucose. That's going to circle back around and increase reverse T3, impair conversion. It's just going to hurt the thyroid. You're just making your body inflamed by doing that.
So if over-exercise is the thyroid killer, is less exercise the thyroid savior?
Just the balance. It's just about that homeostasis, the balance, right?
What do you think that specifically would look like for somebody? Is it, I'm working out 7 days a week and I need to go to 4, or would it be just working out to a point, again, getting those labs to really find that true balance for you?
So let's say you were a 7-day worker outer, right? And I used to be. Now I've dialed it back to 5, but I used to be 7. But you want to try to find that balance. So maybe 1 or 2 of those days is yoga, or like a nice hot yoga if you're
so just
type
reducing
A.
intensity kind of thing.
Right.
Okay.
So lifting heavy, key for males and females, lifting heavy. Moderate cardio. In fact, I don't even do cardio anymore. I just lift heavy and that gets my heart rate up. But just moderate cardio. You don't have to kill yourself for an hour on the Peloton. Like, just go for a walk, get your heart rate up, do some high intensity interval training.
You brought up cardio a couple of times. Is it more so higher frequency and intensity with cardio exercise than resistance training that's the thyroid killer here?
Yeah, I find that because, with resistance training, you're pausing too. So you might get your heart rate up because you just deadlifted, but then you're like, oh, okay,
you're taking
I'm going to take a break.
minutes.
I'm going to sit down, and it's coming back down. Whereas that long, steady state cardio, I mean, you're burning muscle, first of all. You're not building muscle. You're burning muscle at that point with cardio. So it's that imbalance that I see more so in women. Women are more guilty of this. That imbalance that I see where it'll be an hour of cardio and like 15 minutes of weights or no weights at all.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And that's going to be the thyroid killer.
So that's what we're doing. What about what we're eating?
Eating. So there's this talk about cruciferous vegetables. And I get this question all the time, right? That's your broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. And people are like, do I have to avoid these completely? I said, no, just cook them, saute them, steam them, stir fry. It's when it's in its raw form. Like, don't be a rabbit and just eat these cruciferous vegetables all day raw, dipped in ranch. Cook them down to break down what is called the goitrogens in that food. So we want to break those down because there is some interference with thyroid hormone production and how well your medication is going to work if you are on thyroid medication when you're eating those cruciferous vegetables.
And what about some supplementation out there? I heard you mention earlier some minerals, magnesium, zinc, things like that, selenium, things that we find naturally in a lot of, like vegetables, for example. But if we're taking them extra, like for example, I take a Tungcat Ali and a zinc stack pretty much every day for like hormone support. Is that good or bad for thyroid? I hate to say good or bad here, but is supplementing with these things detrimental potentially?
No, I love that combination that you're taking. But the biggest thing that I find with thyroid patients that they make a mistake on is too much of a good thing. So someone will read a blog of how selenium is good for your thyroid. And then that person will go out and they'll buy a bottle of selenium that has like 200 or 400 micrograms. And then they're eating Brazil nuts and they're getting selenium in their multivitamin. And then they're just overdoing it. So too much, specifically of selenium, can actually push up your reverse T3. So it's just it's about the balance, the homeostasis. Yeah.
If you had to, and maybe this is in the book, sorry if I missed it, if you had to kind of map out the ideal thyroid supplement protocol, what would it be for men and women, or would it be independent?
So I call it the no-duh supplement list, kind of dating myself a little bit, like back in the Valley Girl days. Like, duh, of course you're going to take this every day. So this is going to be vitamin D because that's huge for your immune system. And it's imperative for just anti-inflammatory. It helps with T4 to T3 conversion. Magnesium, which we're all deficient in. Selenium, like I mentioned. Iodine, which is very controversial, so I can go deeper on that if you like, and your B vitamins. And then L-tyrosine, like I mentioned earlier, that's a fantastic amino acid that helps your thyroid gland produce more T4 and T3. I love black cumin seed oil. I take black cumin seed oil and I put that in my no-dust supplement list, even if you don't have an autoimmune condition, because it lowers inflammation. And I think we're all inflamed these days. I mean, with the bombardment of toxins and stress and everything, we're inflamed. Our bad food supply, everything. So black cumin seed, it's also anti-cancer. So why not just take that as well? So I put that in my no-dust supplement list. And then something called T2, which is a thyroid hormone, but it doesn't have a negative feedback loop on your thyroid. So when we take T2, we actually improve that T4 to T3 conversion, and we can bump up our T3 naturally by adding in this supplement. And it's not a medication that you have to beg your doctor for.
Okay. Take us back to iodine. Why is there so much controversy around iodine and thyroid health?
So much. So back in the day, there were practitioners that were using iodine in a very high amount, like 50 milligrams a day, which in some instances is warranted, but you don't start someone there. So when we start someone there, they're going to have a thyroid storm. The person's going to go hyperthyroid. They're going to feel like they're crawling out of their skin. They're getting the heart racing, the anxiety, everything. And it's just not safe to keep them there. But iodine in and of itself is amazing for the body, amazing for your thyroid. So your thyroid needs iodine to produce T4 and T3.
Is it the same iodine we get? Like you can get salt, iodized salt?
You can, but it's not the right form. Like you're getting some. You're getting some. Like if you're eating sushi and you're using the iodized salt, you're getting some. But I really like a nascent iodine because that is a monoatomic iodine and it's more bioavailable to the body and it's more gentle as well. So just like what I said, how if people overdo iodine, it's kind of like they're getting punched in the face with anxiety and overload. Whereas if you do a nascent, it's just gentle on the system. It's more tolerated, but you start slow. And that's the key. So with iodine, I want to mention one more point on the periodic table. So now we're going back to maybe 10th grade chemistry, right?
Yeah.
Periodic table of elements. Iodine is next to, it's in the same category of halides as chlorine, bromide, and fluoride. So we know them as halides and halogens. So we know fluoride as, hopefully no one's still using fluoride toothpaste, but we all took those little pink pills as kids, like the fluoride treatment.
The little bubblegum wash.
Exactly.
Cups. Yeah.
Yep. Fluoride's in our water. We know that. Chlorine, we shower in it every single day. Bromide it's on our clothes, rugs, furniture, carpeting, your grass. It's in food. So we're being exposed all the time. On our receptor sites, on our cells, like we were talking about the cell earlier, it's got a little receptor site on it for thyroid hormone. Excuse me. Sorry. And it has a little receptor site on it for iodine. Now, those toxic halides will compete at that receptor site if there's not enough iodine. So if you don't have enough iodine in your system, guess what? Chlorine, fluoride, bromide is going to attach to that receptor.
Wow.
Now, those are detrimental halides to your thyroid, but they also wreak havoc in the body. They increase your risk of cancer. Not something that you want floating around on your cells. So you have to have iodine coming in order to detoxify from those toxic halides.
So having those present at these higher levels might not necessarily be an overconsumption or overexposure, but rather an underconsumption and underexposure to iodine. So this is kind of the balancing agent here I'm hearing.
Right. Right, because we're all being exposed.
Right, okay, yeah.
But now it's the matter of what is your body going to do with it? And, our bodies are beautiful detox systems, but they need help too. Our bodies need help. And that's where something as simple as an iodine supplement can come in and literally help your body, protect your body from those toxins.
Yeah, speaking of detox, detoxification modalities, are they super beneficial for thyroid health? And if so, what are your preferred detoxification modalities?
Well, so first of all, we have to optimize the thyroid because a lot of people will do detox and they talk about the detox pathways and opening them up. And again, I pause and I go, okay, so you're going to do this detox here, but your thyroid's not working. So how do you think that your body, remember, hypo, low, and slow. Hypothyroid is low and slow. Your entire body has slowed down, including your detox pathways, including your circulation, including your pooping, like we talked about earlier. How can you detox if you're not pooping every day? So we have to focus on the thyroid and optimize that first. Then you can go ahead and do whatever detox you're going to do. If you're going to do a heavy metal detox, if you're going to do some type of mold protocol that requires your detox pathways to be open, if you're on bioidentical hormone replacement, we know that your body and your liver need to work to process those hormones so they don't build up in your system.
What about something like sauna, IR sauna, dry sauna?
Sure. You can do that. I mean, it's all going to help. But again, you're not going to get the full benefit of any kind of detox protocol unless your thyroid's working first. It's like that's the top. So tune that in, and then we can work down from there. And then we can work on the adrenals and the gut, the detox pathways, but you got to start at the top.
Okay, so now walk us through the difference between hyperthyroidism and hypo.
So hyper is more rare.
Hyper is more rare?
Yeah, hyper is more rare. And it's exactly what it sounds like, hyper. So I call it icky and sticky. Like you're just jittery and sweaty and anxious and you could be losing weight or not, because a lot of people will be like, give me some of that hyper, I get to lose weight. I'm like, well, you don't always lose weight. Sometimes you just have all the bad, like heart palpitations and AFib, and some people's eyes will start bulging out. So with hyperthyroidism, there's an autoimmune component called Graves' disease. But again, it's much more rare. Hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's, that accounts for the high percentage. Right now, we have the stat at 1 in 8 Americans will develop hypothyroidism or have hypothyroidism, but that's not counting the undiagnosed.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So really, it's more like a 1 in 2, 1 in 4.
Damn. So what besides, or is it just a difference of functionality? Is the difference of markers on the lab results? What are maybe some telltale signs and symptoms someone could go, oh, like I might be experiencing hyper, might be experiencing hypo, besides what you just shared?
Oh yeah, you'll know it.
Yeah, okay.
You'll know it. Now the difference on the labs, well, how you'll know it is the feeling, that icky and sticky. The difference on the labs, and this is important too, because a lot of my patients even have been told by other doctors or by their endocrinologists that they're hyper. And that's because their doctor's only looking at the TSH. And if that TSH is low, they go, oh my gosh, you're hyper. They're not even thinking about the fact like, well, what if this person is taking iodine, supporting their thyroid? What if this person is even on T4 only, which you put them on 5 years ago, and over time that's going to suppress their TSH. So we can't just look at that number. We have to look at all the numbers. So I say if you are truly hyperthyroid, your TSH will be low, your free T3 and your free T4 will both be elevated, flagged, high, off the charts, and you'll know it. You will have all the symptoms, you will know it. With hypo, it's you know it as well. It's everything is low and slow. You're gaining weight, you're sluggish, all the symptoms that we talked about, and then we can confirm it with the labs.
So then is it just a matter of time and increasing elevated levels of hypothyroidism to Hashimoto's, or is there a difference there?
So when we look at hypothyroidism, 95% of all cases is Hashimoto's. 5% comes from if someone went through chemo, radiation, eating disorders, overexercising, undereating. That can just downregulate the thyroid gland itself. But 95% is autoimmune. So it's really coming from our immune systems being dysregulated, those soldiers thinking that your thyroid gland's the bad guy and going out and beating it up.
What do you think is the number one thing most people are doing that is the silent thyroid killer?
Overexercising and undereating. I mean, truly. And really, I'll focus more on the undereating component. Right now, we have a huge fad called GLP-1s.
And we're going there. All right.
Yeah,
All right.
we're going to go there.
All right.
We're going to go there for a second. GLP-1s. I love talking about them because I can talk the pros and cons. I mean, I've done multiple podcasts on the pros and then a couple podcasts on the cons because that's the reality that we're in right now. On the one hand, we have this miraculous drug that is helping millions of people with type 2 diabetes and truly obese people finally lose weight for the first time. And we know that being obese comes with its own set of detrimental diseases, right? But we also have the hims and the hers, and we have IG influencers like promoting it like a multi-level marketing company, and people are using it, and they're losing their facial fat, and they're losing their muscle, and they're losing their hair,
Losing their libido now too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I had a patient today that he actually went into AFib, and it's every time he does a shot, he goes into AFib. So there's issues with it too. Now, with coming back to your question, we know that GLP-1s are reducing appetite. And if you're not using them in a microdose form, if you've ever tried a higher dose, oh my goodness, like you literally can't eat. You're looking at this big, beautiful ribeye cooked perfectly, and you take 2 bites and you're like, that's all I can do. I mean, that's it. So people, and I'm going to call out women are under eating. And that is hugely detrimental to your thyroid. It's going to downregulate your own thyroid production. So your thyroid gland is basically going to be like, well, you're in starvation mode. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to increase that hormone called reverse T3 because that's what it's there for. Reverse T3 is built into our bodies for when we are in a stressed out crisis injury mode. And reverse T3 knows like, hey, you know what? If you're not eating enough, we need to conserve. So you don't need to burn fat. You need to store fat. Reverse T3 is going to go up. Production of that active thyroid hormone T3 is going to go down. We even see this in people who overfast, who do OMAD, 1 meal a day. But we're absolutely seeing it with people using GLPs eating 800, 900 calories a day. Yeah. I mean, it's hugely detrimental.
Yeah, I think that's what was always one of the biggest misconceptions or like hardest things for my patients to get on board with when they were hitting a fat loss plateau. We would do these food logs and or look at, basal metabolic rate through an in-body or something like that. And they would walk me through what they're eating compared to BMR. And it would be hundreds of calories off a day. And they would just look at me and go, Chase, there's no way by eating more food, I'm actually going to lose more weight. Like, yes, there is. That's one of the biggest misconceptions to weight loss, especially fat loss, is that you have to hit that maintenance calories at least before you can even begin to fluctuate, surplus or deficit. And your body's not going to know which one to do. Right. And so if you're getting underserved, then of course it's just going to do what it does best and keep you alive.
Yeah.
I.e. storing fat, storing calories, storing energy. But I want to ask a little nuanced question there. When you say under-consuming, under-eating, are you talking total calories, or do you think does it need to be as nuanced as under macronutrient split consumption? Are we under-consuming fat, under-consuming carbs, under-consuming protein, or do we need to be first just focusing on total steady calories?
Well, I think there's a problem in both areas. Specifically for the thyroid, it's going to be more under-consuming calories.
Just in general.
Okay. But then, yeah, we could certainly get more nuanced and say, because you and I believe the same thing, people are under-consuming protein. And
maybe that's a better question. Is there a preferred macronutrient that the thyroid likes?
Not necessarily. I would like to lie and say, just to get people to eat more protein. Yeah. I would like to be able to say like, yeah, you really need that protein for your thyroid, but there's no evidence of that. It's just more that survival mode, that survival mechanism, down regulation, protection of our metabolism, not burning fat when we just don't eat enough.
Interesting. I have a little theory on that just because we know, fat is a hormone.
Yep.
And so it actually plays a crucial role in hormone signaling throughout the body and other systems. And so I think especially when it comes to hormone balance and thyroid function, I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say under-consuming, but I think there's a room for growth in the relationship we have to fat, the macronutrient, in that proportion for us in our body and hormone function across the board.
Definitely. Well, fat, we know every cell needs it. Our membrane, the lipid membrane of the cell is fat. And so, yes, fat and protein really should be the focus. Well, here's the other thing that I can pull in. Let's just say someone is eating a lower protein but a higher carbohydrate type of a diet. That's going to do is naturally it's going to spike glucose. And depending on the state of the person's health, they could be insulin resistant. I mean, we know 93% of all Americans are insulin resistant right now. That insulin resistance is huge when it comes to the thyroid. So although I can't say eat more protein and your thyroid will thank you, maybe I can say that. Because what that's going to do is it's naturally going to balance out the other macros. If you're focused on protein first and you're eating more protein and more fat, naturally your carbohydrate intake is going to drop down. And then that's going to put you in a more insulin sensitive state, which, yes, that directly impacts the thyroid because that's one of the biggest causes of elevated reverse T3, high insulin.
Interesting. Okay. Well, you are a very busy woman, and we've got other podcasts to get you to today. So I want to get towards the end here, and I have a couple rapid fire before we get to the last question.
Sure.
Okay. Most overrated thyroid advice.
Test TSH only.
Most underrated fix.
Most underrated fix. T3. Adding in T3, it's amazing what it will do.
Last one here. Is the old adage calories in, calories out broken for thyroid patients? Is that broken advice?
Calories in, calories out is a broken advice. Yes and no. Yes and no. It's 50-50 because of just what we talked about. So calories do matter if you're under eating them. Sure, calories matter if you're overeating them, but we also know that the quality of food is key. Because if you're eating, I know this isn't a rapid fire answer, sorry, but I'm going to expand.
Send it, it's okay.
If you're eating 1,500 calories a day in pizza and Teddy Grahams, no, your thyroid's not going to like you very much. Because again, going back to the insulin spike and the glucose spike. Whereas if you're eating 1,500 calories a day of grass-fed steak and veggies and some berries and fat, then yeah, you're going to do much better.
Okay, I lied. One more real quick.
Yeah.
If you could wave a magic wand and everyone would do this one thing, eat this one thing, just one thing that you think has the most positive influence on thyroid health, men and women, what would it be and why?
Eat an avocado a day. Just
great advice for me.
One avocado a day. Just do it. You got the good fat. You got potassium. I mean, all thyroid sufferers suffer from dry skin and dry hair and hair loss. I mean, we know that avocado fat is just so beautiful for skin health and everything. So yeah, avocado.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so now for real, last question.
Okay.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Real quick, by the way, congratulations on the book. We're going to have everything linked down in the show notes under episode resources if you're listening, and if you're watching on the website or YouTube, you'll see it in the video description. But where can they go real quick to connect with you? Where are you hanging out the most online?
Absolutely. So where do I hang out online? Mainly dramie.com, DRAMIE.com. That'll direct you everywhere.
Okay.
So Instagram, I have an amazing Facebook group called Just Fix Your Thyroid. It's free. Everybody can jump in there and you can literally post your labs in there and you can post your questions. I'm in there once a week doing live Q&As. So people can literally pop in there, just the members of the group. We have like 23,000 right now, but just the members of the group can pop in and literally ask me anything. Put your labs in and get feedback, whatever it is. So that's really the best place to hang out with me ongoing.
Super helpful.
Yeah.
Well, Amie, ever forward, those two words, what do they mean to you?
Ever forward. We need to move forward as these badass humans that we are, these type A drivers that we are. We need to move forward thinking about longevity, just like we are right now. We have more focus on longevity, but what about the thyroid propelling that longevity? So going back to what I said in the beginning, when you fix your thyroid, you literally do make more money. You literally do have better relationships with friends, with loved ones, with your spouse, with your kids, because you have more energy, you feel more confident, you want to go out, you want to socialize. When you have a thyroid problem, you go inward and you hold back and you don't present your best self forward. So you don't move forward as the badass human that you're meant to be. So I truly, truly believe that what we need to move forward is better healthcare. And it's probably not going to come from the insurance-based system. It's going to come from podcasts like yours, educating people and people realizing I might have to step out of the insurance-based system to get real help. But I know when I do, I'm going to move forward. My life is going to move forward. My family's going to come with me. My team's going to come with me, and everything is going to get better. So it really is. It sounds so simple, but it's not. It really is about starting with fixing that master gland, and it has this trickle effect because I've seen it in patients. It has this trickle effect where all of a sudden I have patients starting businesses, running marathons, checking that off their to-do list, their bucket list, and really improving things, saving marriages, getting promoted in a job. I've heard it all.
I believe it.
So to move forward as that badass that you are, you got to start with a master gland.